conversation series for CBIT projects that have either finished recently or are about to finish soon. Welcome to the webinar today. And today we will have the team of CBIT Madagascar project, where we can deep dive into the project's outcomes, challenges, success stories, etc. We're very happy to have you again with us in another webinar of this series, where we have had already a few countries, including Serbia, Georgia, and Panama, and we've had as well a deep dive session on Georgia's MRV system and climate transparency platform. Today, we're going to learn a bit more about the CBIT Madagascar project, and we are going to also be having an overview of the regional perspective from the implementing partners at Conservation International. As always, we are going to be sharing news about upcoming events via email, newsletter, or through the Climate Transparency platform, so stay tuned for future updates in the coming weeks. Before we start today's conversation with the Madagascar team, I wanted to give a bit of an overview like we normally do on the CBIT-GSP project and the CBIT initiative, for those of you who still may not be familiar with these initiatives. So I have here my presentation. Yeah, first of all, wanted to say that this webinar is organized by the Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency Global Support Program. That's the full name for the CBIT-GSP project. And this is part of a webinar series that have conversations with national or regional CBIT projects that have concluded or are about to conclude, so that we can have some sort of a lessons learned session and knowledge exchange with all other transparency practitioners that may be working in similar projects. There are three objectives of these webinars. One is to provide countries with an opportunity to reflect and to showcase the results of their CBIT project, to provide an outlook on the next transparency steps in countries, and to share knowledge and lessons learned, as I mentioned, with other projects, other initiatives, and essentially with transparency practitioners. The background for this is the Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency, the CBIT or CBIT, which was established through a decision at COP21, and it's administered by the GEF. It supports developing country parties in meeting enhanced transparency requirements as defined in the Article 13 of the Paris Agreement. And as of May 24, which we will update soon with more recent figures, but as of May of 2024, we had around 94 CBIT projects in 87 countries, be it 87 individual country projects, 1 regional project, and 6 global projects, including ours, the CBIT-GSP. Regarding the CBIT-GSP, this is a project that was funded by GEF, and it is implemented by UNEP and executed here at the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center. The project started in 2022 and runs until end of 2026 with a budget of around $9 million. We have 3 main objectives, which is to support the transition to the BTRs, to assist countries to submit national communications, the last BORs and the first BTRs, to provide a one-stop shop for transparency, and to mainstream gender consideration. And to fulfill these 3 objectives, we have multiple mediums of support, including regional transparency networks, these 10 transparency networks that you can see below in this map, that have a global spread, and they can be either on a regional or language-based aggregation. We have direct support to countries in prioritized areas like NDC tracking, like BTR support. We have in-country trainings and activities, regional and global workshops, such as the Global Transparency Forum this year that happened in Tokyo. We have quality review of transparency reports, an updated gender toolkit, and additional knowledge products that we are submitting and that we are publishing every year. One of our mediums of support and one of the tools that we have created for all the transparency community and to be used also by all of you is the climate transparency platform. You see the QR code below on my screen, so you're more than welcome to either go through the link or visit the platform or go through the QR code. And it is a platform that is essentially created by and for the transparency community, and it aims to have to be a one-stop shop where you can find information about individual transparency projects, country profiles, including official reports, news, upcoming events from multiple agencies, knowledge center for tools, reports, etc. Opportunities, if there is any call for consultants in any transparency-related project, a request for support portal with thematic requests for support and other ways of contributing and sharing knowledge and engaging with the wider transparency community. Thank you for listening to my brief presentation, and please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Today, before I go back to the main topic of today, just wanted to show you the agenda that we have for today. We have started with an introduction to the CBIT and CBIT-GSP project, and we're going to be today with our three colleagues from the Madagascar team, Ms. Michelle Adrianizata, Senior Director of Conservation Strategy at Conservation International. We will have Ms. Lantonirina Ranto-Vajanajari, which is the CBIT Project Coordinator at BNCC. And we will have a regional perspective from Ms. Laurine Chouyot, Jeff Project Support Manager at CIGEF. We are going to have an overview first of Madagascar, the CBIT Madagascar project, what were the main objectives, how did it come to be, etc., followed by a reflection on a country perspective on what was the impact of this project in Madagascar's MRV system. After that, we will have a little break and a little just rapid fire questions, as we have done in other webinars, for you who will remember from the other webinars. The questions have not changed. And afterwards, we will have a regional perspective from the implementing agency on how what are the perspectives, what are the priorities on implementing transparency initiatives. We will end with a Q&A, so if you have any questions, feel free to either raise your hand when the Q&A session starts or writing in the chat. And as always, we will wrap up with some closing remarks by Madagascar, sorry, not Panama. And we will also have a quick Menti webinar for all of you to give us your feedback of today's session. That being said, I will stop sharing, and I want to give the floor now to my three colleagues from Madagascar. If you can put your cameras now for a moment. Good morning, colleagues. Hello.
Hello.
Michelle, Laurine.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you so much for
you.
coming today, and welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Hi, everyone.
Of course. As I mentioned, we will start with an overview of the CBIT Madagascar project by Michelle, followed by an intervention by Lantonirina on the impacts of this project in Madagascar's MRV system. Afterwards, we will have these rapid-fire questions, and we will have the regional perspective by Laurine. So I will give you the floor now, Michelle. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let us start with an overview of the CBIT Madagascar project. If you can tell us a bit of what were the main priorities of the project, what were the main national needs that needed to be addressed, and how was the project structured to address those needs? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for your question and for giving me the floor. So I would like just to mention that at the beginning of CBIT project in Madagascar on 20 2019, we conducted what to say that consultation workshop with all the stakeholders, the sectors, ministries in Madagascar, private sector also. And during the consultation workshop, we had identified the national needs. And among those national needs, there were the awareness raising about the Paris Agreement, about the climate change and the national determined contribution. One of the needs was also the policy and institutional infrastructure for coordinating sectoral activities and greenhouse gas data sharing and monitoring. There is also the equipment and tools leading to reliable and good quality of greenhouse gas data, the adequate sectoral monitoring system, I mean the MRV and equipment for each sector, and the technical capacity on methodological assessment of climate change, such as the calculation of greenhouse gas emission, the quality control and quality assurance of specific emission factors for the country. And then the main priorities of the project are the development of strategic recommendation and sector regulation to facilitate the mainstreaming of climate change actions and accountability accordingly to the Paris Agreement transparency framework, and also to enhance the personal and institutional methodological capacity to improve data collection, management, and MRV framework at national and sector level, and support of greenhouse gas inventories within and across government and department sectors. And from all for the priorities and needs of capacity priorities of the project and the national needs, when we developed the CBIT project for Madagascar, the objective is to establish the necessary framework tools to implement the transparency elements of the Paris Agreement. The second objective, and to bridge the technology gaps required for greenhouse gas emission inventories and monitoring. And the third objective is to strengthen the capacities of sectoral and of relevant stakeholders on transparency activities. And for this CBIT project, there are three components for the CBIT project. The first component is about the institutional arrangement, national policies and measures, and coordination with national institutions and all relevant sectors to meet the transparency requirements of the Paris Agreement. The second component is to address key technology gaps for monitoring of greenhouse gas emissions. And the last component is about the capacity building for relevant national agencies and stakeholders on transparency activities. Yes, and for the component one, as I said, the component one is about the institutional arrangement, national policies and measures and coordination with national institution and all relevant sectors. And concerning the achievement for the component one, first of all, we have the capacity needs assessment, which was undertaken, and also one report with recommendations for the 8 sectors of NDC. And the second achievement for the component one is the policy brief, capturing recommendation for each of the 8 NDC sectors to implement the transparency element of Paris Agreement. And the policy brief is available and uploaded on the CBIT Global Coordination platform. And the third one, we have first national determined contribution of Republic of Madagascar, and during the CBIT project, the NDC of Madagascar has been updated, and in addition, we have also the implementation action plan for the NDC. For the component 2, as I said, the component 2 is about the key technology gaps for monitoring the greenhouse gas emissions and result of climate intervention for the development and dissemination of relevant tools. So for the achievement for this component 2, we have one online database management system which is developed to share information on greenhouse gas emissions and removals and mitigation and adaptation activities related to the NDC of Madagascar. We also developed the national metadata system. In addition to the national metadata system, I would like to mention that it is an online application, but we have also developed the 10 sectoral metadata system, one for each NDC sector, and among for the 10 sectoral metadata system, there are 5 sectoral metadata for adaptation sectors and 5 mitigation sectors. And one of the problem of Madagascar also is the specific emission factors, because before Madagascar used the, how to say that? We have not the specific emission factors, but during the CBIT project, 143 specific emission factors were developed for agriculture, the energy, waste, industrial process, and transportation sectors. And I think one of the big achievement for this component 2 is the development of national MRV, which is managed by the BNCCC Red Plus within the Ministry of Environment. And we also developed sectoral MRV system during the CBIT2. And the last one is the design and implementation of a network of Madagascar MRV system. Like that, it will be easy to do the exchange of data from the sectors, and also the national MRV, which is managed by the PNCCC Red Plus. And for the component 3, as I said, the component 3 was about the capacity building for relevant national agencies and stakeholders on transparency activities. And the achievement for this component 3 is the development of memorandum of understanding between the Ministry of Environment and the mitigation and adaptation sectors. We can see here, for example, the Ministry of Water Resources and Waste, the Fisheries, public health, and this memorandum of understanding facilitates the exchange of data between the ministers of environment and also other sectors. And also there is the obligation of each sectors to give data, the greenhouse gas data inventory, the result of inventory to the Ministry of Environment. And with this memorandum of understanding also, the Ministry of Environment give how to say that, tools to the other ministries and sectors, for example, the computer and other tools to facilitate the management of the greenhouse gas data. And we also work with a consultant, international consultant from Togo for the training of technicians from adaptation and mitigation sectors on the greenhouse gas inventory, and also on the market mechanism of Article 6.2, 6.4, and 6.8. And also the transparency activities of the Paris Agreement, the MRV system, and the last one is the mitigation measures and their effects. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It surely is an impressive and an ambitious CBIT project. Not only focusing on GHG inventory, but also on policy implementation, and also very importantly covering is economy wide, so covering multiple sectors. What can you tell us a little bit about the challenges? Because I imagine that implementing this sort of approach in this scale and working with multiple sectors may have brought challenges unique to each sector, and perhaps also some overlying lessons learned that must have helped on a national scale. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, as we see in the screen, there are many challenges for the implementation of this project. But I would like just to mention, for example, our challenge for the procurement. Many of activities within the CBIT project were conducted by consultants, and sometimes we had problem to procure a consultant. Sometimes it's difficult to find the right profile and capacity to conduct the activities. And sometimes we need to relaunch the call for tenders or something like that to find the right consultant for the activities. The second one is on the technical aspect. We had also a big challenge during the implementation because of COVID-19 period. Also, there was also a delay in signing the current agreement with the Ministry of Environment, for example. And there was also a change in key personnel in the ministries or within the partners. For the stakeholder engagement, because this is Jeff funded project funded by Jeff, so we need to work on the stakeholder engagement. At the beginning, we had a problem to work with private sectors. It was difficult to bring them on board, but at the end of project, we can resolve these challenges because we explain to them their role and responsibility for the implementation of the project, and we invited them to the different events organized by the CBIT project, for example, the workshops, the training, and other activities. And for the safeguards, for the gender mainstreaming, the participation rate of women in the project implementation was less than the projection is less than our estimation at the beginning of the project. And for the accountable grievance mechanism also, no complaints were received, but we need to think about this AGM for the next project. Maybe there was a lack of awareness among stakeholders about this mechanism. And for Madagascar, we can say that the grievance mechanism is new for the stakeholders and partners, and we will find another way how to implement the grievance mechanism for the next projects.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And in a more on a more technical level, perhaps do you have any insights on, for example, the experience of the project in adapting the emission factors, for example, in different sectors? Are there any issues or challenges arising from that can be shared with other countries, for example?
Could you repeat, please, the question?
Yeah, of course. I was just
Uh-huh.
wondering what was the experience throughout the project in some of
Uh-huh.
the project activities. For example, the development of the emission factors. If there was any challenges or any lessons learned from working in multiple sectors at the same time, working on those emission factors.
Yeah, for the emission factors, um, as I said, uh, we cannot do the we cannot work on the specific emission factors for all the sectors working in the CBIT project. We have just worked on the specific emission factors for only for 6 sectors, as I mentioned, the agriculture, energy, waste, industrial process, and transportation sector. But for CBIT one, we have just developed the emission factors, specific emission factors, but we cannot yet how to say that? We cannot yet do the practice by using for the specific emission factors for the inventory of greenhouse gas inventory, but maybe for the next step, we can do that. And finding also consultant to do the work was not easy, as I said. But finally, we can find the right consultant to conduct the activities.
Of course, understandable.
Mhm.
I have one last question. I am wondering because yeah, I remember you mentioning in the previous slide in component one that the project was also supporting the development of the updated NDC,
Uh-huh.
which is honestly a great result and a very tangible result. What are your experiences working in supporting the development on the NDC and at the same time the implementation plan? Because I think this is also one of the ways to have very actionable and targeted implementation plans to make sure that the targets can be measured and reached, and there are concrete activities and concrete programs to implement those targets.
Yes, it was not easy to do at the same times the update of NDC and also the development of implementation action plan. But the Ministry of the Environment through the BNCCC, they said that it is necessary to do both during the CBIT project. And our approach is to invite the consultant working on the update of NDC and the implementation action plan to work together. This is our approach that we used to facilitate the activities so they can do the exchange and and um, and how to say that? they did the exchange and work together to facilitate the production of implementation action plan.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Michelle. Again, thank you for your input and your presentation. And I also, at the same time, I want to remind everyone that you are more than welcome to write your questions or comments, and we will address them during the Q&A at the end of the session. But I want to thank you again, Michelle, and I want to give the floor to Ms. Lantonirina and hear your insights on what have been the lessons learned from the project from a government perspective and from a national perspective, both in terms of implementation, but also technically. So how has this project impacted the MRP system? Are there any things that would be done differently in hindsight, etc.? Tell us your insights.
Thank you, Mr. Alejandro, for giving me the floor. And I would like also to thank the organizer for this opportunity to share Madagascar's experiences as part of the CBIT project. So in terms of implementation and lessons learned, we have set up two project management units, one on the Conservation International side and one to the government side through the Office of National Climate Change. So we think this is a good thing because it has made it much easier to talk to the public sectors and also to involve more of the decision makers in the implementation of the project. So it facilitated the effectiveness of engagement of stakeholders. So in this sense, we can say that institutional capacity building has been achieved. Technically, in our case, as said Michel, we have few consultants who have great experiences in the field of climate transparency. However, as part of the government, we benefit most of the training that takes place at international level. So it's really important that government and consultants work well together. And sometimes the intervention of international consultant is really necessary to strengthen national capacities. About UNSET, with UNSET, we have realized that in CBIT-1, we could have done better with the development of our secondly national determined contribution. Although a lot of training has been given to the sector, generally the sector concerned need time to assimilate the training and capacity building that have given, so that we can really see the expected actions and the results. So we think that NTC 3.0 will be better with preparation initiated at CBIT. So the next step for Madagascar is to submit a concept note on the continuation of the project. Actually, a project ID has already been drawn up of its purpose. And about the system, the transparent system, we plan to improve this. The country must focus its efforts on data collection. With that data, we cannot have accurate national inventories. We cannot follow the progress of implementation of NTC correctly, and therefore obtain data on the different sectors concerned by inventories. Adaptation will be our great prospect, and we also plan to continue to improve the metadata and MRV system established in CBIT-1. and strengthen stakeholders' capacities in terms of MFA, support data collection and database at the sector level, launch data collection and establishment of the database. So we hope to implement CBIT2. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Antonina. It's really interesting, and indeed, I think regarding the development and the enhancing of capacity, also within the primary data collection and data evaluation, it is a continuous process. It is nothing that is never really ended, and our experience is that once the systems are set up in place, and it takes trial and error, and it takes a process and possibly changes to make sure that the right people are involved, that the systems are well understood, and that the quality information is being fed into the right teams for the GHG inventory and for the development of these national reports. I see that you have a slide also on recommendations. It was going to be my next question, actually. What are the next steps, and what do you see happening next in Madagascar regarding transparency? And very well put. Meeting these two big deadlines coming up with the BTR and the NDC 3.0, what are the plans, or what are your recommendations and experiences from trying to increase synergies between these two processes, and having the transparency also inform development and implementation of the NDC?
So the next step is we plan to submit a concept note, but we finalized final update report, so we have not started yet PTR. So we think we have to do it in parallel.
Thank you, Antonina. Thank you so much. I want to thank you both, Antonina and Michelle, so much for your presentations and for your insights and experiences from the CBIT Madagascar project. Before we go to our next session, just would like to ask both of you to answer a couple of rapid fire questions about CBIT and transparency in general. These are not supposed to be serious questions, and feel free, there's no wrong answers. So it's just supposed to be a sort of game, no preparation needed, and you can just tell us the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the questions. So if you are ready, both Antonina and Michelle, I will start with the questions, and the first one would be, do you say CBIT or CBIT?
CBIT, right, Lant?
Yes, it's CBIT.
I say CBIT myself. All right. The next is, for how long have you worked within climate transparency?
For me, I have started on 2019 with CBIT project.
Yes, for government, it's I think it's until 2010.
All right. You're
Yes.
both well experienced in transparency. I have to say, for me, it's just a little bit less. Started during pandemic, actually. Did you participate in negotiating the ETF?
Me, no.
Yes, for me, we have a national focal point, but sometimes I participate to training about ETF and about the tools that UNFCCC have done.
Interesting. Well prepared. The next question is, have you been part of preparing a national communications, BUR or BTR? And I think we already know the answer for this one.
Lant?
Excuse me, what about national communication?
If you have been part of preparing a national communications or a BUR, which I understand you both have.
Yes. I'm part from inventories, not expert, but I don't know how to say this, but because it's our office who coordinates the national communication reports and the primary reports. So I take part from the preparation of the reports.
That's great to hear. The next question is, do you prefer the term transparency or MRV?
MRV for me.
For us, we need both, because we have to, as a government, we need to implement how to say, cadre de transparence renforcé. We need to implement. Yes, we need to implement ETF, and also we need to put in place the MLF system.
Indeed, that's a good point to refer to and to differentiate between the two. The next one is what comes to your mind when thinking of BTR and ETF? And it can be anything.
Lant? Maybe
BTR needs, yes.
Yeah.
BTR, we have to finalize it this year, December. So we have to do inventory. We have to put inside the elements of transparency. So we have to communicate final inventory gases, and we have to talk also to communicate the progress of implementation of NDC. We have to communicate adaptation, impact, and measures, and also we have to communicate in PTR the needs or how to say besoin. We speak more French.
Yes. No, it's a packed schedule. I think if you could you could summarize it in one word, it would be stressful. And I think it summarizes the feeling of many of us at this end of the year. The last question that we have is now, what is your country's biggest priority for transparency right now? Is it, I imagine it's a BTR preparation and many of these activities that you have just mentioned?
Our big, our big priorities for transparency, I think it's to put in place MRV system and data, and to have data from sectors. If not, we can't do a best reports for transparency.
Thank you both. Thank you so much, both of you, for letting us put you on the spot with these rapid fire questions. For the next part of our webinar, I would now like to invite Laureen to put on her camera and share your screen if you want. Welcome, Laureen. And as we mentioned before, you're going to give us a regional perspective on climate transparency project implementation, as well as the lessons learned on implementing projects in the region, especially in projects that have been completed so far or that are well under implementation. But please, Laureen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone, and thanks for this opportunity to actually present on the regional overview of CBIT projects from our portfolio. And I will start by perhaps detailing my role. So my role is project management and technical oversight support for all the GEF projects that have been funded by the GEF within the CIGEF agency. And CBIT portfolio for us is a huge one, and I'll just want to go fast over to provide an overview of how the portfolio looks like. So since CI being an implementing agency, we've had 11 projects in total on CBIT, and 6 of them are currently under implementation. Some have closed, and just to mention a number of them. So there are some that are currently in the pipeline, not within the Africa region, but within Philippines, and a number are currently under implementation, including one regional project with CBIT COMESA, which brings forth 4 countries: Comoros, Eritrea, Seychelles, and Zambia. We also have CBIT Gambia, which has just started implementation, and CBIT Rwanda, which is nearing the end. Implementation ends at the end of this year. And so we also have a number of projects which have already concluded. Just to mention a few, CBIT Madagascar, which we are talking about today. We have Liberia, we have Uganda and Kenya, and we also have one that is actually under phase 2, which is the CBIT Uganda. And preferably, or maybe probably, CBIT Madagascar. So we'll be having a chat on that very soon. So just to go through a regional perspective of implementing transparency initiatives. So there are a number of pointers that are cross-cutting within the many projects that we have in our portfolio, and there's a few points that needs to be considered from a regional perspective, and also is very important for the countries, the national countries. So one is the importance of regional cooperation. So as we know, CBIT projects require a lot of data sharing, and data sharing is a very sensitive bit, especially now that we need to involve government, we need to involve the private sector, academia at some point. So it's really key that trust and shared goals are actually emphasized within the CBIT projects, both regionally and also nationally. And so there's need for transparent data sharing that builds trust and aligns to the country's ambitions or even the targets on climate action, resource management, sustainable development, among other goals. So as an example, we have the CBIT COMESA project, which I had mentioned brings together 4 countries. And through this project, it's been evident that there's potential, or even already happening, demonstrating how the transparency frameworks deliver collective benefits, offering models and entry points for other countries, even in the region, to join. So this project actually has great potential to even pull in other countries, looking at the different 4 countries, specifically with their needs, with their capabilities, with some of the resources that they have, and having a joint goal, which is to improve their transparency reporting. So while factoring that, we also need to ensure that country circumstances and status in reporting are considered. And this mainly is because different countries have different capabilities, different resources. They have different ways or even challenges, as we have seen for the case of Madagascar. I note that some of the challenges, some of the successes, some of the lessons learned are cross-cutting, not only for Madagascar, but also applies to some of the countries. Evidently, we've seen in CBIT Uganda for the first phase that ended, where there were challenges bringing on board the private sector. So, for example, and also with matters of maybe having MOUs, being on the same understanding, and having a clear way forward in terms of how the data will be channeled and will be actually refined as per the requirements that the Paris Agreement has stipulated. So it's important to factor in some of these circumstances. Another big challenge that we've seen across the portfolio is sustainability. And noting that CBIT projects are mainly passing down or trainings, building capacity resource-wise, the human capital, enhancing their reporting capabilities. So it's a big challenge, mainly because of challenges such as turnover or even the absorption rate. So for the long-term continuity of some of the information that has been passed, I think one key recommendation we've seen across the portfolio is the need for record keeping. And this is mainly because the preserving of institutional knowledge is key, and challenges such as staff turnover are not one that could be contained. So in order to ensure that this information, that has already been passed across through such projects, are actually well preserved and is any other person who comes in, for example, new staff, are able to actually go through some of the trainings and are able to deliver or maybe act in the spaces where others have left. So record keeping is very key in enabling seamless staff transitions. And for the case of CBIT Madagascar, based on the terminal evaluation report that has just come out, we've noted that there are some key recommendations that come in that could also apply to other projects. For example, having women leading or attending, because they've seen that passing of information or even record keeping is better in that sense. It's controversial, but well, so this could apply or happen to any other country. The other one is employing digital repositories. So having centralized databases ensures sustainability and continuity across teams. And we understand that there are different capacities within different countries, and having the digital systems and repositories might not be one that every country is able to, but eyeing the ones that have already done this and also just going through some of the understanding the ways that they had to go through in order to reach or achieve this is an important one. And that's why we really encourage for the CBIT countries within our portfolio to speak to each other, to share knowledge, and also to keep each other updated on where they are. So lastly is on capacity building and knowledge sharing, second last. So training and empowerment, specifically equipping stakeholders with skills for effective data collection and reporting. So as I just had mentioned, that knowledge sharing is a very good way of reaching other partners. For example, even ensuring that maybe the private sector, the academia are involved by developing knowledge management products, showing maybe some of the lessons learned, some of the bottlenecks that have been experienced, is a very good way for others to learn, and even might pique other people's interests, and maybe they could come on board. So collaborative learning, where peer networking and exchange programs which will foster regional growth and support. This is also another important one which we are trying to foster within our portfolio, whereby we're trying to encourage the CBIT portfolio within CI to actually hold joint events or even organize a booth where they are able to showcase some of their projects, and also cross-share lessons learned and pass such information through such events. So this is one that we are currently very much trying to encourage. Lastly is on gender mainstreaming. And for this, there are 2 points: inclusive development and empowerment. So gender balance strengthening is one that has been challenging for a number of our projects. Ensuring that there is a good representation of women, youth in transparency initiatives within these countries has been a challenging one. So it's important to actually at design phase to provide realistic targets, because there are different situations per country that might work for the country or might not work for the country. So it's important to be realistic, and it's also important to keep encouraging gender balance in capacity building initiatives within the countries. The other one is equal participation in training and leadership roles. It enhances sustainability. And the example that I just gave you on the CBIT Madagascar terminal evaluation report, whereby one of the points was that encouraging women to take up more positions in terms of taking part in these trainings has proved to be very good for sustainability, whereby they are able to showcase, to share, to record, keep some of the lessons learned from such trainings. It can be controversial, but I think it's one that could be employed by various countries. So I'll stop there and take questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Again, really clear and showing what have been the main lessons learned and the main areas of focus in the region. I want to go ahead directly and open the session for questions and answers. So if anybody has a question or wants to raise their hand, we invite them to. Otherwise, we already have a couple of questions in the chat. So I don't know if there's any raised hands for now. Otherwise, we have a couple of questions in the chat, and the first one is for the CBIT Madagascar team. You mentioned the collaboration between several ministries. Did you face any challenges setting up the MOUs to secure commitment from various ministries? And could you provide more details on how these collaborations went during the project?
Maybe I can start, and then the coordinator of project will continue. This is MOU between the Ministry of Environment and other ministries and sectors. And I think there was not a problem for the signature of MOUs between the Ministry of Environment and other ministries. And how about the collaboration? Maybe Land can confirm, but during the implementation of CBIT-1, there was strong collaboration between the Ministry of Environment and other ministries, and they participated very actively for the different workshops, meeting, and capacity building workshop that the CBIT project organized. Maybe Land can continue.
So, thank you, Michel. So the challenges is there are sometimes many changes with institutional arrangements. So, but generally it's okay.
Thank you so much. We have another question. Could you provide some information about the next phase of the project, the CBIT-2 in Madagascar? Be it what would be the main priorities, or what are the main areas from phase 1 that you want to build on?
Yes. Yes. I can start. During the CBIT-1, we did the development of many tools for the greenhouse gas inventory, the MRV systems, the specific emission factors, metadata. We did the networking of the national MRV system and the sectoral MRV system. And for the CBIT-2, we are going to improve the metadata and the MRV system. And as the coordinator said, the support for data collection, but for the CBIT-2, we are going to use those tools and the capacity building to improve the transparency activities. This is my, I don't know, Land, if you want to add.
Yes, I confirm that Michel said we really need to collect data from the sector, because they don't know which data to collect. For instance, to do inventory, national inventory. So we need to sensitize, and also we need to check in the progress of CTN also.
And maybe I would like to add that, as Lauren said, maybe the sustainability, sustainable funding, and the sustainability of system will be also. We will work on that during CBIT too.
Thank you both. We have one hand raised by our colleague Sabi from Togo. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Please, can I go in French?
Yes,
Oui.
yes.
Ok, merci beaucoup. Moi, je suis professeur Sabi et je voudrais remercier d'abord CBIT qui d'ailleurs m'a permis d'aller à Madagascar pour renforcer les capacités des experts nationaux sur les inventaires nationaux de gaz à effet de serre avec l'utilisation des lignes directrices du GIEC et du logiciel IPCC 2006.
Oui.
À l'époque de cette formation, les Common Report Table étaient déjà dans le logiciel et il n'y avait que le secteur énergie, si je ne me trompe pas. Et je les ai initiés par rapport au Common Report Table, par rapport au BITIA. Et je leur ai demandé aussi de s'inscrire pour se former avec le GHG Institute, qui doit former les gens par rapport au Binary Transparency Report. Et ce qu'il faut souligner aujourd'hui, c'est que les pays développés sont restés sur le MRV et bien sûr que le BITIA est basé sur le MRV, mais les pays développés ont une avance par rapport au BITIA parce que la formulation du BITIA a pris beaucoup en charge les éléments de review. Allô? Vous m'entendez?
So,
Oui.
in the batteries, I mean the AC itself.
Les éléments du BITIA ont beaucoup intégré les habitudes des pays développés. Ce que je voudrais demander à Madagascar, depuis cette formation qui dépasse plus d'1 an, qu'est-ce qu'ils ont pu exprimer au CBIT par rapport au suivi de leur formation? Combien d'experts qui étaient à la formation ont été utilisés pour leur activité, leur inventaire? Est-ce qu'il y a eu de renforcement de capacité par après? Est-ce qu'il y a un expert national qui a participé à cette formation, qui a essayé de faire une formation sur le BTR, sur le review, pour pouvoir accompagner le pays? Au moment où je l'ai formé, moi-même, je n'étais pas encore formé sur les Common Report Table, puisque c'était le début. Aujourd'hui, je peux vous rassurer qu'en tant qu'expert, j'ai fait le cours BTR et j'ai fait le B1, j'ai fait le B3, j'ai fait le B6, j'ai fait le C1, le C2, le C3 et le C4 pour pouvoir accompagner les pays. Mais rassurez-vous que depuis plus d'1 an, aucun de Madagascar n'a écrit pour dire qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire, on a besoin de l'aide, tout ça là. Quand vous dites qu'il n'y a pas d'experts, je ne suis pas du tout d'avis, parce que si vous écrivez à CBIT, CBIT va vous trouver un expert pour vous accompagner. Ce n'est pas une accusation. Ce n'est pas propre seulement à Madagascar, c'est juste une observation globale pour que les pays qui sont là avec nous puissent comprendre que après la formation, il faut se former. Après la formation des experts, il faut les utiliser, il faut les suivre et il faut exprimer les besoins à CBIT. Je ne veux pas accuser quelqu'un, c'est pour que les gens comprennent qu'il y a beaucoup de choses à faire et qu'une formation d'une semaine ne suffit pas pour faire le travail national. Merci beaucoup. Voilà ma contribution.
Thank you, Sabi. Thank you for your comment and your contribution. don't know if there's any follow-up for now. Otherwise, it's also something that we can take in another meeting. I have also another question for our colleague Laureen as well, and this is to just know your experience or your insight from an implementing partner perspective on the region, on the interlinkages between the preparation of the BTR and the NDC 3.0. What do you think that should be prioritized, or what is being learned or being shown in these times where both processes are right now under implementation? Thank you.
Alejandro can support Lorraine with that. Alejandro?
Yeah, of course, Victor.
Yeah. And my name is Victor Sendi. I work at Conservation International Africa Field Division. So I do oversee the execution of the CBIT regional project. So regarding this is quite an interesting question regarding what needs to be prioritized. I think recently, with the trainings and capacity building activities we've been undertaking with the regional project, I think we cannot divorce the two processes because of two things. I think on both ends, almost all governments that we work with, and even the other countries we've implemented CBIT projects, seem to need certain support and continuous capacity building. So ideally, I think even as we, of course, in terms of timelines, the BTR comes much earlier than the 3.0 NDC. But however, I think these processes seem to would have to work in tandem, because you also wouldn't develop your BTR, your NDC without understanding what is the quantification, the current emissions at that particular stage. So as we then build capacity on the development of BTR and other greenhouse gas inventories or national MRVs, I think those then can feed into NDC, so that so that countries don't end up producing NDCs that perhaps don't have the grounding or cannot be quantified along the way, and that then bring challenge in terms of reporting. So I think they're kind of closely related. One feeds into the other, and of course, then coming back to the eventually when you want to report on the next BTR, then you'll have to depend on the NDC that would have been produced. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. I find it very interesting, and indeed, it's two processes that have to be taken hand by hand. And one of the trends one of the issues that you can see sometimes is that there can be a bit of a silo effect as well between teams that are working on one or the other, and that is one of the things internally in terms of institutional arrangements and interministerial coordination that has to be prioritized, I think, because of all these interactions that you have mentioned, and also including the relation between NDC tracking and target setting, understanding your biggest sources of emission, and how is a country tracking progress towards the NDC in order to apply or to perhaps increase ambition in next rounds, or have more science-based and realistic NDC targets. And there's also the question of investability of the NDC and being able to have clear information and tracking of the source of finance that are coming into the country, and technology and capacity building in order to have realistic estimations on conditional and unconditional NDCs, and on the financial needs that each country may have. I don't know if there's any other questions so far from the audience. Otherwise, if there are no questions, we can pass to the last part of today's webinar. Again, thank you all so much for your time. And before we end for today, we wanted to do a quick Mentimeter survey that my colleague Juliette will be soon sharing her screen with the Mentimeter, and it will have a QR code and a number so that you can come in and participate in this questionnaire. It will be very quick. It's just 2 or 3 questions, just so that you can give us your feedback on today's session and what are the next topics that you would like to see in future webinars like this one. In the past, we have done deep dives into specific outcomes of projects. For example, the GHG inventory platform and the data management platform in Georgia. And if there is any specific topics that you would like us to cover a bit more in depth, either on preparation of BTRs or preparation of second phases of CBIT projects, these interlinkages between NDC and transparency, etc. Please, feel free to participate, and we appreciate your responses. We'll give you a few minutes to answer and to log in. And all you have to do is go to www.menti.com and enter the code 7177-8190. This is also written in the chat, and we have the QR code here on the screen so that you can join with your phone if you prefer. Okay, I think we can start the questionnaire already. And the first question is from where have you been joining us today? We see that we have many colleagues from the region. And we welcome you. Hopefully, thankfully, we are in the same time zone or very similar for this. We have also had instances where we had people from very different time zones joining, and we always really appreciate either the early birds or the people who stay late. The next question is, how satisfied are you with this webinar? And thank you for your answers. And again, if there is any feedback that you would like to provide or anything that you would like to change, perhaps prioritize some presentation or some parts of the webinar. If you want us to go more in depth with specific topics, where we're also happy to hear your feedback and flexible to offer the best knowledge sharing webinars for you. We see in other areas that you would like to see. We have so far 2 responses: the preparation of second phase of CBIT and the monitoring of the NDC, and how have CBIT countries ensured that they are collaborating with other CBIT countries. What's the plan to continue CBIT phases for continuity purposes? We also have experiences on preparations of BTR, experiences implementing MRV system, hands-on experience on capacity building. And I would also like to mention that throughout the CBIT-GSP, we also have a lot of regional trainings, in-country activities, and more webinars like this that you are more than welcome to join and to also gather experiences from other countries as well as technical expertise in multiple topics. Again, I want to thank you all for attending today. And I think this is the end point. This is the end for today's presentation. Thank you so much for joining us today. One last thing before we leave, if you could turn on your cameras and we can take a picture, all of us, then we can post it in the platform, and we will reach out to you as well via email and in the platform afterwards with all the materials of today, so that you can go back to it for future reference. Thank you so much. We start seeing more cameras and more familiar faces. It's always good to see you and to have these sessions with the wider transparency community. We are taking some pictures and some screenshots now, so I appreciate your patience. Okay. Well, thank you so much, all of you. It's been a pleasure, like always. I hope that you have found this webinar interesting. And again, I want to thank the Madagascar team, especially for their availability and for sharing their experiences and their insight for us. To Laureen as well for sharing us a regional perspective from Conservation International, Victor, and all of you who have been in the webinar today. Thank you all so much, and have a good evening. And again, see you in the next webinar. And for those of you who are going to be at COP29, I wish you a productive 2 weeks, and hope everything goes well. Thank you all so much.